Hi, everyone. My name is Jake Mulder, and along with Kara, I am a co-author of Growing Young. And while Kara made sure to point out that she is not Dutch, I am very glad to share that I am Dutch. My grandpa was born in Groningen. I know I probably did not say that well, but I try. And I now live in Michigan. I live very close to Holland, Michigan. Which is very different than the Holland where you all are. But we are thrilled with the new book that is coming out and to be connected with you briefly by way of this video. One of the things that we've heard from many churches is that they do not have any or many young people, and they've lost hope of, should we even bother? Should we even try to engage younger generations? So I want to offer just a little advice on that and one other question. We would encourage churches to start by making small steps. It can be very overwhelming to think about if you have mostly an older church, let's say specifically people who are in their 70s and 80s, trying to think about how are you going to engage children and teenagers and young adults, and often that can feel like a big jump. We would encourage you to think about how you can engage who you do have, or what the small steps are that you can take from where you are. And often you can build on those smaller steps over time and lean into bigger steps. Here's what I mean. If you mostly have people in your church who are ages 70 and 80, we might think through how could you engage people who are in their 50s or 60s? That is actually a step towards growing younger in your church. It's just not as big of a jump as trying to start with teenagers or young adults. We have seen churches who start there and it helps them make progress. Another question that we've seen churches focus on, especially if they don't have any young people in their church, is really thinking about this idea of neighboring well and asking, how can we be good neighbors in our community, and where are there young people that we can serve? For many churches that we've worked with, we've seen that happen through school partnerships, where the church, again, who primarily has an older generation, will focus on a school and look at how can we invest in or serve that school. Are there ways that we can volunteer in the school? Are there ways that we can read in the school? Are there ways that we can raise money or contribute to those schools in some ways? And those steps very much can help the church have initial steps towards the idea of growing young and growing together. The recap of the point is just to start with what you do have and what you can do, not to get focused on how far you have to come. Another question we often get is, what has been the effect of the book Growing Young in the United States, and what have been some of the lessons that we've learned? Our book has been out for about 6 years, I believe. And I wish I could say that everything in the church has changed as a result of the book. That is not the case. We have not seen an overnight change within the United States. What we have seen is thousands and thousands of leaders in churches who have found hope in the book and have seen that moving in this direction is possible. We're doing work right now on something called the 10 by 10 collaboration, which is a large national collaboration related to young people to try to continue to align and support people who have found hope and ideas through our book. We've also had over 700 churches who have gone through a pretty extensive one-year change process in our context, and are thrilled to say that we're seeing many of those churches making significant progress. One of those churches that we've seen about 3 years ago started to focus on keychain leadership, or the idea of sharing the keys with young people in the church. And they didn't see progress at first. They didn't even see that much progress 2 months later. They didn't even see that much progress 6 months later, but they decided to stick with it. They decided to continue to focus on creating a wider culture in their church where the keys are shared with young people. And one of the things that happened by you as well as by us is the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And when that pandemic hit in their church, what they saw was dozens and dozens of young people who stepped up and stepped into leadership. They saw young people who helped the church figure out how to stream their services online. They saw young people who went to the homes of older adults and taught those older adults how to engage with the service online. And it was this whole situation where young people in the church stepped up and stepped into leadership and were ready to do so because the church had spent several months laying the foundation for how to share the keys with young people. So we're seeing signs of hope like that all the time. One of the other lessons I would say that we've learned is just that change in churches takes time. I wish we could say that most churches in 1 to 3 months end up making significant change. It's very rare that significant and lasting change happens in 1 to 3 months. It's often in 1 to 3 years that churches end up experiencing significant change. Because this work is about changing the wider culture of the church, we need to stick at it. We need to continue to stay faithful and stay disciplined in executing those changes. But what we have seen for those churches that really choose to invest, if they will stick with it, they may not see change immediately. It may not be quick, but for those who stick at it, the change does eventually come. So we are so thrilled to see the work that you are doing, that the work of Growing Young is being helpful. We're so excited about this new book that is releasing, and we pray all the best for you. Thank you.